And we're live in three, two, and welcome everybody to another episode of the Planet Mullins podcast. We are about to wrap up season 6. We're in the middle of October 2020. It's Grammy first round balloting day. Yay, it's October 11th. And today I have the not only lovely and not only talented, but very brainy, I just found out, Tiffany Ashton. Composer and songstress. Are you based in Nashville or Florida?
I'm based actually in North Carolina, but I
Oh,
travel a lot between Nashville and LA right now. I'm in down here in Florida for a performance on October 14th for a Anheuser-Busch event down here. So, yeah.
that's so great. Well, for those of you that regularly follow my show, you know that I do feature a lot of Grammy winners. I feature a lot of Grammy hopefuls. I'm open-minded towards all genres of music except for accordion bands. I don't like accordion. Um,
I love that. That's wild.
yeah, I just, there's
Anything but the
something
chord.
There's something about the accordions when you get a bunch of them together. The only thing that I think of is bonfire.
True. I could see that.
Just
Listen,
go.
everybody's got their one thing that they're just like, you know what? I'm on board until you throw it in.
Okay, well, we'll burn some accordions when we finally meet in person. But in the meantime, folks, Tiffany is a very prolific songwriter, and she's a winner of the Hollywood Music and Media Award, which is a show that my buddy Brent out in LA started many years ago based on a conversation that he and I had, but that's an hour story.
Oh
And
my goodness.
she's got a great soundtrack project that she contributed 5 tunes to that's being considered for a Grammy Award, and it's called The Haunting of the Queen Mary. So tell everybody about how did you get involved with this whole soundtrack thing, and why is it that girls like you are able to get engineering degrees in high school and still look the way you look? I know that's all the guys are going to care about. But let's start with this
Oh.
soundtrack project that's up for the Grammy. How did that happen?
Yeah, so it's been such an amazing journey because first went out to LA whenever I was 18 years old. Of course, I won a Hollywood Music and Media Award out there for Best in Country. And it really connected me in with some really amazing individuals because I'm sure you know, of course, Brent is a stand-up guy. He's literally one of my favorite people in the industry too. And but his award show, the Hollywood Music and Media Awards, they're dedicated to where media and music meet. So the songs behind films, the songs behind music videos, the songs behind a lot of the art that is created visually, his award show is dedicated to. And so with that said, whenever I won a Hollywood Music and Media Award whenever I was 18, it connected me in with a lot of co-creators that were working on all these amazing projects. Literally, I mean, they're working on westerns over here, they're working on, Haunting of the Queen Mary here, all sorts of different things. And so I kind of got looped into that community that way, and it was an absolute blessing. And it like kind of just started the ball rolling on a lot of these projects, including the Queen Mary, which is wild. And that, of course, came about, interestingly enough, pretty organically because it started out with I got connected through that community to the producers of the project who wanted a theme song. And so I worked really hard and on It Had to Be You Dark version that's out now with Tommee Profitt. Um, so it's, of course, it's a re-envisioned version of the 1932 classic. Um, a murder version of a beloved classic, right? We love it for a horror film. And after that, it was so funny because they asked me to come aboard and help write some of the big band tunes because it's a time hopping film. So it goes between
Uh,
1939 and modern day. And so a lot of the time hopping ones, like from 1939, the big band songs, originally they asked me to demo the songs and write the songs and do all of that. And then, they were going to send it out to have a big band singer sing it because they didn't know at the time that I had some experience with, you know, more classical, more, big band songs myself. And that
oh, okay.
just, I mean, throughout the years, I started in choirs, started doing anthems and all sorts of stuff like that. So I had the training to just put together a demo and that sort of thing. And of course, as a country singer, they weren't anticipating, using me for the big band stuff. So I sent them over a demo of the songs that I'd created, specifically for the old timey scenes,
Okay.
and that I'd worked with the Livesey's on, actually. And they called me up and they went, "Who in the world is that?" I was like, "Oh, that's me." And they were like, "You're hired." So that
Cool.
is how, I mean, it just kind of kept building on itself. There's an original country crossover that we contributed called House of Cards. And it's
Cool.
just, it was kind of the gift that kept on giving, especially during the pandemic, whenever, of course, as you know, a lot of our industry was at a standstill. The project really like kept me on my feet, kept me going. We were doing all kinds of things with it. So it's been such a blessing. And so, yeah,
That's so exciting. Well, when we
thank you.
were doing our little pre-show chat, there was a
Mhm.
couple of things that I had to laugh about. One is that, whenever there's a really beautiful, talented blonde young lady from the Southeast United States, the name David Longoria always keeps popping up. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. He's like the Kevin Bacon of the Grammy part. It's like, no, another person that Longoria got to her first again.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is absolutely hilarious. The way David and I actually connected originally was at the Hollywood Music and Media Awards when I won at 18. They were nominated and had won themselves. And now, mind you, this was the first award show I had ever been to. I had never experienced any of that before. And so I actually won the Hollywood Music and Media Award, and they did not tell me that what you were taking off of the stage was a dummy trophy. Nobody mentioned that. And nobody afterward, as I'm walking around with the dummy trophy after the show, not realizing it is not my trophy, nobody mentioned it to me after that either. So originally David and Robert, they had won that night, and they come up and they're like, "Hey, would you mind if we just got a picture with that, because we would love." They didn't have anybody there specifically filming whenever they won the award, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little like, hmm. Nobody had. So anywho, that is one of the ways that we connected. But man, let me tell you, they are just amazing folks. I love them. I love them to death. And so that started a nice long friendship. And thankfully, too, it was so funny because the Haunting of the Queen Mary, we have been super thrilled about. I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into, and have loved working with the Livesey brothers on. We got news actually today that, as opposed to being up for best compilation soundtrack, it's actually going to be up for best score, which is something for, just for the composers, so for the Liveseys. So what I am also being considered for this year is the fact that we, in Studio City, I was with David and I was with Robert, and they had been working on Barbara Morrison and the Legacies album, Blues Mama.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if you know a lot about what happened there, but Barbara passed in 2022
Hmm.
from some cardiovascular issues. Before the album could be complete, Barbara was an absolute legend. I mean, starting from the 70s, like on so many records, and such a blues legend. Um, and so they asked if I would be a part of this project with them. And of course, we spent that day in the studio working and working and working. And so it's been really meaningful to have been a part of that. And now that is being considered for best traditional blues album. So for anybody out there that is part of our Grammy voting community, we would appreciate that. So any support or consideration. But it's been crazy to be a part of such vastly different projects over the past year. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so
All
many
these.
different genres, so many different balls being juggled in the air.
I know. Well, you're certainly capable of doing a lot of different things well. I
Thank
have
you.
a long, long history with Barbara Morrison that goes back decades because I remember before there was a Barbara Morrison theater, and she and I both used to play at a jazz club in Fullerton, California called Steamers. And
Wow.
so she would play there, and I would be there on different nights. But we were both fans of each other. And what a sweetheart of a gal, and what a great singer. And then after she opened that theater, I did a bunch of shows down there with different blues bands and R&B bands and stuff. So that's great to know that there's a Barbara Morrison tribute thing out there. Um,
Yeah. And
and
it's her
yeah,
last album too.
she's iconic, and it would be great if she did win something because she was just a sweetheart of a person and really talented. And that's not always a combination that happens in Hollywood that much, because a lot of the people that are super talented are just mean. They're mean, Tiffany. Did you meet any of the mean ones yet? Because if you want to meet them, I got a list of them.
I honestly haven't, which is so funny because I do keep hearing that. I hear that from all kinds of like little corners, and I just go, so far so good. Maybe they just don't have, maybe they don't have it in them to be super mean to the little Southern girl. I don't know. Maybe they think that I've just happened in the wrong. Maybe they think I've happened in the wrong place.
Well, I don't know. To play devil's advocate, I've had my heart broke by more than one little old Southern girl in my lifetime too. But
Oh, I
but
mean,
going back, there's something that you said earlier that was so funny, because now with a combination of the genres and you doing all these different things, there's also a lot of times I noticed in the music industry a lot that people judge everything by appearances. I mean, I've had people that have heard some of my R&B music, and then just, especially on the radio, and when I toured with some of the black bands in the 90s, people were literally disappointed and shocked when I would show up in Texas at some gig, and they would think that I was setting up the keyboards for the black keyboard player. I'd be like,
oh,
no, I'm actually the keyboard player. And they're like, you can't play like that. And I said, I do play like that, and I'm going to play like that. But
yeah.
the stereotypes that go along
Mhm.
with things, such as, a beautiful blonde girl that doesn't know, how to spell Livesey, because that's unusual. But you told me something funny, and I want to hear about this because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Uh, Valedictorian, you're the valedictorian and got an engineering degree in high school.
Well, that's
First off, none of the guys watching this show believe it. And second off, all the women hate you from now on. But
stop it.
please, no, but
No.
please tell me about that. What? Ah,
It's really funny because whenever I was in high school too, I was really involved with a competitive rocketry team that won second in the nation. So we were really hardcore recruited a lot by like West Point and MIT because of the things that we'd done, like as far as rocketry and competition and our engineering stuff. I'd won first in the nation for essays on technology, believe it or not. So actually words about technology, right? But it's so
interesting.
fun. I just I don't know. I don't really view, and this is something that's always been kind of strange and interesting whenever I've talked with other musicians and artists. There's the sect that really like view mathematics and a lot of the more technical side of things as totally polar opposite to what we do. And then there are those of us that kind of see art and science and STEM kind of all mixed in together. Because when you really like get down to like the music theory of it all and the frequencies and why we appreciate the music that we appreciate, a lot of it boils down to the math and the science of it, which is wild. Um, the conflict between like the tension and the resolution, the frequencies that we use, even sometimes subconsciously, like especially in this horror film, it's been fascinating because and working with the Livesey's, like talking about how there are frequencies that folks are not always cognizant of when they're watching something that's
All
meant to
right.
be
Uh-huh.
aired, how physically it impacts us on a level that we don't even realize. And incorporating that into a score, understanding all those things though is crucial to creating music that like physically and emotionally impacts people on the next level. And
So,
so
yeah.
and between that and getting into a little bit of like the more production side of things myself, um, it's just been fascinating to see kind of how like STEM and music aren't like totally different worlds. They're
Right.
definitely
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
totally
So, I guess if I were to ask you what are the notes in a C minor 11 chord, you could just rattle those off?
probably not.
Oh, okay. All right.
Nope. Engineering mind. Now I will say engineering mind's been put away right now.
Oh,
Mathematics mind. not up at the forefront at the moment.
I just finished doing my
That's something that you're probably like, I mean, every single day in and out when you're mentoring the kids, whenever you're working with the folks, like, I mean, that is your specialty. I love that.
well, I've just been trying to get reacquainted with my right brain because I had to go left brain for 2 weeks and do my taxes.
Oh, oh,
Oh
oh,
my God. And I'll tell you
oh,
what, that's a hard switch for me to go from the left side to the right side, probably for you too, because you get all creative, you're all
yeah.
excited, it's all jelly, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I got 4 more days to file this tax form. And I
Uh,
don't remember how many miles I drove from Vegas to Phoenix that one day. How many of the miles were business? How, I had a
yeah.
turkey sandwich, but I think only half of the sandwich was deductible because the guy I was meeting with to discuss business came late.
I
Well,
can't.
right. I mean, it's a crazy life, but
It
you're
is.
you're really interesting to talk to now. How did you got into the music publishing thing, which is pretty interesting, because a lot of times I'll interview singers, and a really strong way into success for young people is to go into the acting side or to go into the songwriting side. Now, are you because your company's called Tiffany B Publishing, right?
Tiffany Ashton Publishing,
Oh,
LLC.
Tiffany Ashton Publishing. What does the B stand for in Tiffany B?
That's actually from my personal page. And so Tiffany Ashton Music is like, of course, I mean, we're friends on Facebook. So, but my actual last name is a B. So
Oh,
it
okay.
won't let you duplicate the name, but it will let you put in a letter, a random letter.
Right. Well,
I did that one.
how'd you end up starting a publishing company at your young age and stuff? Tell us about that.
Well, so I've been performing out and about since I was about 6 years old. First started performing for like churches and ballparks and that sort of thing, the national
Uh,
anthem ballparks. And I had an absolute great time with that. But then, of course, even when I was little, I loved words. I loved poetry. I loved the impact that writing had on people and the way that it connected you with the world. And so I started writing like chapter books whenever I was in third grade. I adored writing too. And so for a long time, well, I say a long time, but until I was about 12, those were two different interests for me. I loved music, but I also loved writing, and they were over here and they were kind of parallel, but they weren't together. They weren't.
okay.
Uh, but whenever I picked up guitar when I was 11 and 12 and first started really like honing in and trying to, it gave me a structure to create songs where I was singing about my own emotions, my own what I was going through. And granted, now at the time, were 11-year-old and 12-year-old's emotions, they're very real, But that just kind of is what started me on this wild journey, I guess. And so
Okay.
by the time I was 13 or 14, I'd started. Well, the first time I ever recorded was actually down here in Florida because my family, I have some family up here in Vero Beach, Florida, and there was a marina down here that a lot of our family friends owned. And so that was the first place I performed my own original music when I was 13 years old. And the fellow that was running the sound there that night, his name was Brian Hardman. He looked at me and he was like, "You know what, kid, have you ever recorded anything?" I was like, "No, sir." He said, "You ought to come and just, demo something, whatever you got."
It's great.
I recorded my first Christmas song in the back of a shed with no air conditioning in 97-degree heat here in South Florida.
Well, before we run out of time, I want to say that rumor has it that a lot of things that get born do happen in the back of a shed with no air conditioning in the South. I think
That,
that's even a well-known fact now.
I
Uh,
mean, Lord Skinner, baby. Like, I'm not saying. Just
but
say
you're
it.
yeah, just to kind of wrap up here, your movie Haunting of the Queen Mary, it's on country music television, right?
We have a couple singles that have been up on CMT. Um,
Okay.
a lot of the stuff that we've done with the Haunting of the Queen Mary, now that has been a little bit more pop, dark, genre oriented. They released It Had to Be You dark version as a single, and it has got
Okay.
tons and tons of plays in this past like week. So I've been so appreciative to all my fans out there that have been listening. And I know that you know what, that feels like whenever you create art and people really like connect with it and they
Yeah,
the heart themselves. So that's been beautiful to see. But my
fantastic.
single, Cowboy and I'm On to You have been featured on CMT in the past. And I love the folks over there, Leslie Fram and Stacey Cato. They have always been just, I don't know, stand up folks, so
But,
supportive,
well, I'll
super
tell you
sweet.
what, when you see David Longoria next time,
Yeah,
tell him Rob Mullins from Planet Mullins said hi.
I
And
will.
I'm super thrilled to have you on. I know you had a category change in your nomination, but you and your amazingness and your being will shine through all of the categories this year. And
Thanks.
can't thank you enough for coming on. So, folks, this is Tiffany B. Ashton, or Tiffany Ashton Publishing,
That's
or
it.
the engineering girl, little engineering girl that could. You can call her
That's
all
it.
those things.
I
And
go by all the alliance,
if you go down
aliases.
in the description box below here on YouTube, there'll be all the information about her career. And Tiffany, thanks for coming on. I wish we had more time. Let's do it again soon.
No, I agree. Thank you, Rob. You are an absolute joy. Thank you for having me here on Planet Mullins. And thank you to everybody that's out there that is watching. I appreciate you guys more than you know. My stuff is through tiffanyashtonmusic.com. If y'all want to connect, and y'all know where to find Rob. He is right here at
All
Planet
right.
Mullins.
Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye now.
Bye.